So picture this. It's the day after Thanksgiving, also known as Black Friday, and unfortunately you're stuck at work because you work retail. But you're not too let down because you still get to indulge in all the leftovers that you brought from home. So as you go to heat up your food in that Tupperware brand container that you brought it in, little do you know that the heat from the microwave is maybe releasing harmful chemicals from your container and into your food. Chemical bisphenol A, also known as BPA, is used to make polycarbonate plastics, and that can be found in baby bottles, water bottles, and epoxy resins, which are the inner lining to canned foods. So according to an article published on MSN.com, Frederick von Saul, a biology professor and BPA researcher at the University of Missouri, reports that heat, acid, alcohol, harsh detergents, and microwaving can also exacerbate the release of BPA. And this is the prime way that consumers are exposed. So as a supporting member of Environment California, they have kept me updated and informed through emails and newsletters on the harmful effects BPA can have on our bodies and the environment. So with that said, the United States federal government should ban the use of chemical BPA in containers for food and beverage. So today I'm going to be discussing the lack of effort the FDA has submitted in banning BPA. Next, I will discuss the dangers BPA has on our bodies. And lastly, I will briefly discuss how you can protect yourselves and your families by taking consumer actions. So moving on to my first main point, many scientific studies have raised a major concern about the safety of BPA, but the Food and Drug Administration has not yet tried to ban the chemical in containers that come in contact with food and beverage. So BPA was first created in 1891, and it wasn't until the 1930s that it was used as a synthetic estrogen for women who have like hormone problems. But it wasn't until the 1960s that it was marketed to make clear hard plastic, and that's what we use it for today for like food containers, everything, plastic cups, water bottles, tin cans. So according to a JS Online Centennial Journal in an article titled The History of BPA, published November 15, 2008, it stated it was only until the year 2000 that more than 1,000 studies were done on lab animals, concluding the harmful effects BPA could have on the human body. And from April 2008 to August 2008, the market for BPA exceeded $6 billion, and the Food and Drug Administration declares BPA to be safe. So there seems to be a link between this mass money-making market of companies that use BPA for their products and the number of studies that have been ignored by the FDA. But recently, according to an article published January 19, 2010 by Science Daily, they noted that the FDA has shifted its stance on bisphenol A, and they said exposure to the chemical is of some concern for infants and children only. But we are now entering the year 2012, and the FDA has done little to inform the public or to put bans into full effect. So I've just discussed with you where BPA lies with the FDA. I'm now going to talk about how BPA affects our bodies. Even though the market for BPA is large and extensive, scientific studies do show that BPA can be harmful. According to an article about BPA published in the Canadian Press on March 13, 2008, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention say it found BPA in nearly 93% of Americans tested in their nationwide study. With such a large percentile, being 93% of its participants, we can only assume that a lot of the bad effects that are associated with BPA might be true. BPA is believed to disrupt the endocrine system, and as I had said before, BPA was created as a synthetic estrogen in the beginning. So consider this evidence. The Harvard School of Public Health did a study that was published in the American Journal of Public Health in November 2009, and Sarah Vogel quotes, "Between 1997 and 2005, there were 115 studies done on the effects of BPA at or below the safety standard, conducted by dozens of laboratories in the United States, Japan, and Europe. They reported the effects of BPA included changes in fetal prostate and mammary gland development, disruption of chromosomal alignment in developing eggs in females, altered immune function, and metabolic abnormalities, and then also changes in the brain and behavior." So there's a positive correlation between the effects BPA has on the body and the endocrine system, and it's also believed to be a contributor for prostate and breast cancers. But to top it off, out of the 115 studies that were done, 90% of the government-funded studies all reported bad effects of BPA, whereas all the industry studies reported zero effects. So in April of 2008, the Canadian health officials declared BPA as a toxin. And according to a CBC News article published October 13, 2010, it notes that Canada is the first country in the world to ban the import and export and sale of baby bottles containing bisphenol A. So the real issue lies on BPA and child exposure. Children, it's really controversial when it comes to BPA exposure in children because children are far more susceptible to getting damaged from environmental chemicals than adults are because their bodies aren't developed to immediately detox toxins as fast as adults, and that's what makes it controversial. And also, the BPA is used in a lot of children's toys, and so that makes it a lot more dangerous. But on a better note, Canada has set the bar for other countries and states wanting to follow their lead on the ban. So now that I've discussed with you what the FDA thinks of BPA and the harmful effects BPA can have on the body, I would like to finish on how you can protect yourselves and your families by taking consumer actions. If the U.S. government were to ban BPA, we might see a decline in health problems that involve the endocrine system. Also, we would be forced to research and develop products that are more sustainable. So what can you do to help? Well, first of all, you can inform your friends and family about the bad effects BPA could have. You can also do research on your own about what you can do to make it better. You can learn more about it and whatnot. And the main thing, though, is try not to heat or freeze any of your food in plastic. According to an article published by Colin Dunn on planetgreen.com, he notes, with BPA found so commonly throughout numerous products, the main thing to look out for is products that contain the numbers 4, 6, and 7 labeled on the bottom of plastics. And if you look at the bottom of any plastic product, you will see like arrows in the shape of a triangle. The number in the middle is what you want to look out for. So numbers 4, 6, and 7 labeled on the bottom. Now that I've discussed with you what the FDA thinks of BPA, followed by the effects BPA has on our body and what you can do to help, I'm now open for any questions.
I have a question. What does the United, why don't they do it? Like, what do they have to lose by?
Well, as I've mentioned before, the FDA they're just still declaring it as safe, but from my research, I believe that the FDA might be convinced by these really big companies that use BPA not to ban it, because if they were to ban it, they would have to find other ways to package their products, and that might cost a lot more money. And so the FDA could be involved. Not really sure, but
thank you very much. We'll answer.
Are there any specific instances of someone being sick from the BPA?
I don't know of any specific instances, but they've done enough studies that show that BPA can be harmful. It doesn't happen all at once. It's kind of something that you develop after using a certain product for a long amount of time. Like right now, since plastic is still new, we don't really know the harmful effects it could have on like children in the future, perhaps. Okay, so next time, this coming season, actually this month, when you decide to save your Christmas dinner, think of what kind of container you're going to save it in, and be clean, go green, and say no to plastic and tin for your food and beverage.